The next 18 months will completely change these zodiac signs. Most changes break people, not because they are difficult, but because they are unexpected. The next 18 months will divide many into two groups: those who will lose control, and those who will rewrite their own trajectory. This is not about luck. It's about rebuilding your character. Some will face a crisis of status. Others will face a crisis of meaning. If you feel something coming, stay. I wonder who is ready to take an honest look at themselves. Aquarius. Everything begins to shift where representatives of this sign are used to feeling untouchable. The next 18 months will not break them. They will force them to choose. Those born under this sign have long built a reputation as independent thinkers, their own path, their own logic, their own system. But this cycle will call into question not their intellect, but their influence. They will face a moment when ideas are no longer enough. Structure is needed. A team is needed. Responsibility for the consequences is needed. The first peak of tension is a change in status at work or in a public role, a proposal, a transition, or a sharp end to a phase. This is not about loss. It is about the transition from the position of observer to the position of architect. This period will force you to risk your reputation, to take steps that not everyone will understand. The old circle will begin to fall away. Those who valued only unconventionality will disappear. Those who are looking for a leader will appear, and this is where the internal conflict will begin. To remain independent, or to take power, the second peak is financial. Income is unstable, but the potential is higher than ever. This period will force you to rethink your earning model, not small projects, but scale. Representatives of this sign will understand. Freedom without a system is chaos, and a system without freedom is a cage, and you will have to create a third option. In the middle of the cycle, there will be a temptation to retreat, to return to comfort, to safe decisions. This is where many people make mistakes. A pause is acceptable. A rollback is not. If you recognize this inner conflict, write to us. Are you ready for a role that is greater than your ambitions? The final stage of the cycle will change your identity. Those born under this sign will stop proving their uniqueness. He or she will begin to build influence. Everything begins to shift at the point where responsibility appears. And that will be their real start. Capricorn. It will not all start with a bang, but with silence. Representatives of this sign are already feeling tension in the foundations. Everything begins to shift, not externally, but within the structure that has been built over the years. Capricorns are used to being in control. Career, reputation, strategy, everything is calculated. But the next 18 months will break the very formula of control. They will face a situation where the old rules no longer work. Authority no longer guarantees stability. Experience no longer gives an automatic advantage. The first peak is a blow to status, not necessarily public, but painful. It could be a new boss, a new market, or a younger competitor who plays more aggressively. This period will force a rethinking of the approach to power, not through rigidity, through flexibility. Capricorn has been playing the long game for a long time, and now they will have to play fast. The old foundation will begin to crack, not because it is weak, but because the scale has changed. The second peak of tension is the circle of people. Those who were previously loyal will become cautious. Capricorn will understand that not everyone is ready to grow together. You will have to close the distance with some and break it with others. This is a period of cold decisions. In the middle of the cycle, there will be a temptation to become harsh, to close yourself off, to control even more. But this is precisely what will become a trap. Everything begins to shift when Capricorn allows itself to delegate, to recognize that scale requires trust. Financially, this will be a year of strategy review, not growth by inertia, but reformatting sources of income. They will face a choice: stay in the familiar segment or enter a risky but promising space. And here, speed will decide. everything. Capricorn is used to waiting for the right moment, but this cycle works differently. The moment will not come. It will have to be created. The third peak is personal identity. Representatives of this sign will stop building an image of the one who can withstand anything. A new image will emerge, not a harsh one, but an influential one due to the scale of thinking. This is not a romantic transformation. This is a strategic restructuring. In 18 months, Capricorn will either become the architect of a new system or remain the guardian of the old one, and the difference will be noticeable. Everything begins to shift where the fear of losing control becomes an impetus for greater power. There's only one question. Is Capricorn ready to risk what it already has for the level it has long aspired to? And here comes Sagittarius. This sign does not like to be restricted, but it is precisely these restrictions that will become a point of growth. Everything begins to shift when the representative of this sign realizes that freedom without direction no longer works. Sagittarius is used to moving forward. New projects, new horizons, new people, but the next 18 months will not allow them to scatter. They will face the need to choose one route. The first peak of tension will be in their professional life. The market will change faster than expected. What seemed promising will lose momentum, and they will have to stop. Not forever, but to recalculate. This period will force discipline, planning, tight deadlines. This is not easy for Sagittarius. Representatives of this sign have always played on enthusiasm. Now they will have to play by the rules. And this is where the internal conflict will begin. To remain light and spontaneous, or to become a strategist. The second peak is the environment. People who previously supported them may leave, not because of conflict, because of different speeds. Sagittarius will grow faster, but narrower. Everything begins to shift when the focus becomes sharp. In the middle of the cycle, an opportunity will appear that will seem risky. A new position, a new direction, perhaps a move. They will face the fear of losing their freedom. But the paradox is that this very step will expand it. Sagittarius is used to trusting their intuition. Now they will have to trust their calculations. Financially, the period is unstable. First, a decline, then a sharp jump. This period will reward those who do not scatter their efforts. The third peak is personal meaning. Representatives of this sign will stop looking for where it is more interesting. They will begin to build where it is more meaningful, and this will change the scope of their ambitions. No longer just adventure. No longer just drive, but influence. Long-term, systemic. Sagittarius will emerge from this cycle different. Less chaos, more weight. Everything begins to shift at the point where the choice becomes final. And if it seems now that freedom is diminishing, it is an illusion. In fact, a trajectory is being formed that no wind can knock off course. And finally, Pisces. Here, the changes will not be loud, they will be deep. Everything begins to shift, not because of an event, but because of awareness. Representatives of this sign have long lived on their inner feelings, intuition, sensitivity, flexibility. But the next 18 months will present a different challenge, clarity. They will face a moment when softness will no longer protect them. They will have to define boundaries. The first peak is professional reality. Pisces are used to adapting to the system. Now the system will require a specific position. Not, I'll think about it, but I'll take responsibility. This period will force them to come out of the shadows. It could be a new role, publicity, or their own project, which can no longer be postponed. And this is where fear will appear. Will you be tough enough? Everything begins to shift when Pisces stop avoiding conflict. The second peak is finances. Money no longer comes in. Through the stream. Structure is needed. Representatives of this sign will learn to count, to plan, to refuse. This is not easy, because emotion has always been stronger than calculation. In the middle of the cycle, A situation will arise where you will have to say no to a loved one or an old partner, and this will be the point of maturation. They will face disappointment in someone from the past, but this will free up resources. The third peak is identity. Pisces will stop dissolving into the expectations of others. A new style of behavior will emerge, calm, clear. This period will redefine what strength means for this sign, not emotional depth, but the ability to maintain boundaries. And in 18 months, Pisces will surprise themselves. Fewer chaotic decisions, more strategic steps. Everything begins to shift when inner intuition takes shape. This will not be a romantic transformation. It will be disciplined. And if it seems now that the ground is unstable, it is only a restructuring of support. Pisces will not lose their sensitivity. They will add firmness to it, and that is what will change their place in the game. 18 months is not waiting. It is a choice. Those who take the risk will change their level. Are you ready? Right. Subscribe. The movement has begun.